Good day. My name is Ugochukwu Ukwebu. I am a session lead with the Udacity ALX Nanodegree programs. And in this video, which is the first part of a multi-part video walkthrough of Project 4, I will be demonstrating an approach to follow to implement your Project 4 in the Cloud Developer track, develop and deploy a serverless app. So let me jump right in by sharing my screen. All right. So as I would always recommend to the learners or students, begin with the project instructions, follow them as much as possible. And that's after you've completed the lessons in the course, because what you learn in the course would guide you through the project. So in the cloud developer track, the develop and deploy serverless app, develop and deploy serverless app project. This is the getting started screen. The prerequisites are you should have an Auth0 account. You should have a GitHub account. You should have Node.js version up to 12x on your system. Well, you can have more than 12x, but 12x is recommended here. You should have a serverless account. Of course, if you've gone through the exercises in the course, you should have a serverless account. You should have all this, you should have met all these prerequisites. So, of course, you begin with having an npm install serverless to have serverless installed. So you can just do an npm install flag G serverless and install your serverless and check your version. So let me jump right. Okay, so this is the first screen. These are the requirements. So go over them. What's the project overview? It's in this project, you develop and deploy a simple to-do application using the AWS Lambda and serverless framework. This application will allow users to create, remove, update, get to-do items. Each to-do item contains the following fields. So those are the fields. And when you deploy your app, it's going to be like what we have in the screenshot here. You're supposed to log in with an Auth0 account or log in with Google. You'd have integrated Auth0 in your application. And so this is how the application is when it's running successfully. Tasks overview. You should fork and clone the project starter code, which comes with a backend and a front-end client application. The starter code comes with to-do flags in various fields. Search for the to-do comments. Just follow these instructions, right? And then you also advise that before you dive deeper, it's a good practice to have a quick look at the project rubric, right? So I think I have the project rubric here. So these are the requirements that's or the project specification that your project should meet for it to be successfully graded and for it to pass the project. And of course, if you're up to it, there are suggestions to make your project stand out. Right. So let me jump right into it. Let me have a better view of my screen. So this is the code repo. That's the cloud developer code repo on GitHub. The link is right there on the starter page where you can let me increase my real estate here. Okay, so the link is there to the starter code, right? So I've just linked it there. I've already made cloned the code. I have a local version of the code, which I have here. I've downloaded it here into this folder. That's the C4 Project C. So I'm going to git bash into the code and open an instance of VS Code with that command. Okay, let's trust the author. So when this is your starter code, this is what it looks like. Okay, let me open the terminal here too. All right. So this is the structure of the code. You have a backend, you have a client app, you have the images folder, you have a git ignore, and the other files. And yeah, I like to use the git bash terminal. Let me refer to the project outline. Okay, so we have all these set up. If you go to the project and you run this command grep flagger with quotes to do, you're going to see something like what we have on the screenshot here. So I've done that. I've had a view of it, and you can do that. So the approach I'm going to take in this walkthrough is an approach from start to finish, so that it can act as a guide to developers, a kind of concise guide of the steps you need to take to do your project. And of just, like I'd always recommend, the instructions have been laid out. If you follow them, you have a best chance of completing the project. So this is our backend. Of course, normally with a serverless application, you should begin with your serverless.yaml file. So let me look at my serverless.yaml file, which you're going to see in the backend directory. And so that's serverless.yaml file. So this is what you begin with. Is the structure. And of course, these are some of the to-dos. Okay, let me even run that initial command that it was suggested for us to run, grep, my flagger to do. All right, so let's see this. So we see the structure of the places that we need to touch to get our project ready for, or to complete our project, right? So there's several places where to-dos are mentioned in the serverless, the YAML file, and in other files in other folder structure there. So so let's scroll down to look at this. This is what this is. You have your skeletal structure for the things you need to do and all the places you need to do your implementations. Here are the functions. You have the auth handler, auth function, the get to do functions, the handlers where you have to implement them. And of course, you have your resources too to implement, right? And you're going to have your bucket policy, your tables, and your gateway API gateway response format. So okay, so let's scroll in a little bit. We have some folders here, helper, where we have some helper classes, attachments, to-dos, to-do access. We have the file where we're going to implement our auth function. That's our authorizer. We'll get there, right? So then we'll have the create to-dos, delete the to-dos, generate uploads, get to-dos, and update handler. So basically, normally I start with okay, let me try and make sure I follow the project instructions as you would do. Let's see. These are the tips. Okay, you need to implement all these functions. All right, so yeah, of course, I expect you to look at it. And of course, you have your best practices. I want to scroll down because I think I have them already. You have your best practices, how to validate your HTTP requests, application monitoring, login, and also have advice on how to deploy the application. So before beginning the projects, it's recommended that you look at everything, go through and take the so that you don't make unnecessary mistakes and you get your things right from the start. Okay. So in this first part of the project, I'm going to set up the project and deploy to serverless to be sure that that I can at least I can connect to serverless straight up. So how do I start? I come to serverless, the project. Of course, I have my own account with serverless, and I everyone should doing this project should also have a serverless account. This is my account. Serverless to do app. I'm going to call this 5 because I think I have some others I've already done. So okay, 5. So that this is unique. App 5 and 5. Uh, of course, in as recommended, you need to have a framework version. Okay, so what serverless version am I using here? Let's check it. Uh, okay, I think this should go. I have, so the plugins we are using, we have serverless webpack, serverless IAM rules per function, and serverless plugin tracing. Provider AWS, the GS12. Okay, Lambda hashtag version. Okay, so now we don't need that. I think we can, with the way serverless has updated, we don't need uh, that particular line. So I've commented it out. Uh, of course, tracing, Lambda tracing is enabled, API gateway is enabled. Let me see. So this is me standing up, just preparing to stand up my serverless server. Okay, so I'm using framework core, serverless framework core 3.23. Probably see that from the return on my command. So I'm going to come here, serverless framework 3.23.0. I'm going to save that. So I have some plugins here. Serverless Webpack, serverless IAM rules per function, serverless plugin tracings. So I recommend you also install those plugins. Let's see. So we're going to seed into the backend from here. All right. Working on the backend directory. So here I will do an npm update save. I kind of try to start with an npm install, but let me follow the course instructions. Npm update save. Right. Okay, so while that's running, let me try and connect to my cloud gateway. Okay, I'm having an error there. So let me refresh that screen. Let's try that again. Okay, so let me open my cloud console. I like to do that in incognito window. Okay, so that's that there. Just gonna leave that for a while. Whenever they come back here, I think I'm done with, so close this here. Let me go back to my VS Code to see what's happening after running npm update save. So that's still downloading some dependencies. And while that is going on, let's look at our right. Right. So let's see what we have there. Okay, still command is still running. All right. So I'm going to move ahead a little bit. Maybe I want this to run its course so that I'll explain why I'm going to take the next steps if I take them. Uh, of course, if we follow the instructions in this project, uh, you'd you could conclude that it asks us to write all our functions, enable all our handlers before we deploy, right? You can see this process getting started backend, best practices, deploy. And in the backend section, we have the steps we need to take. So it suggests that we implement all the functions before we deploy, right? So that's more like building a whole project, completing a whole project before we begin testing. But from my own software practice, I like to set up my projects, the bare bones, and start implementing little by little, feature by feature. As I implement a feature, I test. I'm sure it's working, and I move on to the before I move on to the next step. Right? It's an approach I kind of like to use, and it's an approach I'm used to. Okay, so even before that, okay, that was only a step I needed to have done first. Yeah. Okay, so we've done all these. So let's even have a look at some of the packages that were installed. Okay, so AWS X-Ray SDK, HTTP errors, Axios, types Axios, or smart support, UID, MIDI, JSON Web Token, Winston. Basically, these are a lot of libraries that we're going to be needing for successful implementation of this project. And of course, best practices, right? Before you start up in modern practices, if you want to start up the modern projects, you should git initialize so that you can start properly. And it's recommended practice. And all through this course, it's something we've tried to implement or we've tried to teach our learners to follow best practices of modern app development. So even before now, okay, I've set up a Git repo for this project. I named it Udacity for projects C. So how do we start it? So let me begin by just following the steps, creating a new repo on the command line or pushing an existing repo. Okay. Initially, this is similar to a new repo. So I can start with that. Let's see. All right. So I run that. It's going to be up there. Then I do a git init. Okay, initialize the. I think I would have liked to have done that. Not necessarily here, but no problem. Let's go ahead. Let me see. Okay, so I like to. I think I'm more comfortable doing that here. Uh, Let me try that again. Okay. All right. So I think I've done a git init here. Okay, let me do git add-on. All right, git status. So let's see what I have here. All right. Git commit, git branch main. So that's done. Okay, so let me add the origin, remote origin. Okay, so that's done. Git push. So I think we're good to go. So, okay, what's that? Ouch. Okay, I still need to do some things there. All right, I think I'll correct that later. But let me go ahead and uh I'm just gonna get ahead with this. So git. Let me continue working locally on the dev branch. Uh so that's that. That's I'm going to correct that error later and I'm going to push to GitHub. But I think I'm good to go from here. So continue with setting up my serverless app. So I have this. Uh so basically I'm going to deploy what I have right now. So I've done an npm update save. I want to do an npm audit fix. Okay, so I have that. Okay, no, I should do that from the backend directory. Yep. So npm audit fix. Oh, I'm back in the master's branch. Ouch. Okay. So I pretty much have two directories I'm working on locally, right? So well, we'll probably collect that later, but it's okay. Let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna add that again. All right. All right. So as it is, what I'll be pushing to GitHub is my backend directory, right? But you can correct that on your own side. You do these git steps from the root project directory and not from inside your backend directory, right? But I'm going to have to move ahead with this. All right. So uh, recommended project steps. I want to deploy to server. I want to deploy the app, right? So basically, I start with serverless, first time serverless. Let me review my serverless file one more time. All right, so it's a new app version. Okay. Uh, the way I like to set up my let me just set up my environment variables here. Okay, I have that created an index here. Serverless to do 5 to do serverless C5 to do hash images. Right? So I think I'm fine with that. Okay, so I think I can see that what we have there, but I'll come back there. Assign URL expression 300. I want to add this environment variable. Okay, so like that. And I like to have this too. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to save that. All right, so okay, that's all okay for now. All right, so I tried to do something, try to run serverless, but it's telling me that some plugins are not found. Okay, so I'm going to I kind of expected that. So let me go get those plugins I need to install. If we look at the plugin section, you can see we have some plugins we need to install: serverless webpack, serverless IAM rules per function, and serverless plugin tracing. So let me go ahead and do that one by one. So okay, from what the project suggested, let's start with that. Serverless IAM rules per function. So let me install that. Let's go. Right, so that's done. I think this just came to my mind. Before I proceed, let me check out to a dev branch. All right, so from the dev branch, let me install the second plugin, serverless webpack. Okay, so let's go. And let me copy the third plugin, serverless plugin tracing. So once that is done, I go ahead. All right, so that's done. Let me do the last one. I think I've copied that already. Plugin tracing. Go ahead. All right, so that's done. So let me run my serverless command again. All right. So of course, using local credentials. Okay, so there's this command that we ought to have run, or I mean, I assume we would still run. I've run it before. Serverless config credentials, provider AWS key, your access key ID, your secret key ID, and your profile, right? So these are some. I've run this. So it's already configured. That's why straight up this I get this, right? So it's because it's using local credentials, which I already have to dashboard that. So what would you like to do? Create serverless to do app 5 in a good engineering org? Yes, that's what I want to do. So enter. Uh-oh, okay, I did that wrong. The wrong place. So that's what I want to do here. I want to create a new app. Yep, yes. Your project is ready to be deployed to that. Do you want to deploy now? Yes, I want to deploy now. And I expect to get what I'm going to get now. Let's see what I get. And I try to deploy. All right, so I'm going to get a series of errors, right? So let's see what some of these errors are, right? So basically, of course, I'm getting errors. I've not implemented enough of my functions, right? Node modules, TS loader, so many things, right? So I expect a quite number of us are going to get these kind of errors. So one approach is to go implement our functions and then come back and then try to deploy and troubleshoot as you go, these errors that were thrown. But for me, I like to simulate as if I'm starting a brand new project with the best skeletons and then build feature by feature as my application go to become something big. So to sort out this error, my approach, I'm going to kind of blind. If you can see, it's making references to a lot of the uh, helpers and functions that were already described in the serverless or YAML file. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go straight up. So I'm going to first of all start from my serverless file. I'm going to comment out these functions, which is trying to implement. What function? I'm going to comment it out. I'll come back later to implement them one after the other. I'm going to comment out the get to do. So let me put a line there. Comment it out. Uh, create to do. I'm going to comment that out too. Update to do. I'm going to comment that out too. Delete to do. Comment it out. Generate upload URL. I'm going to comment that out. Okay, so in the resources section, okay, I'm going to start with no problem. I'm going to okay. All right, I said I want to start bare bones, right? So let's start bare bones. Let's comment out so many of the things that we still need to implement out later. Because I just want to deploy to serverless and start. Just know that I've deployed there already. And I can start bit by bit to build the final part of or to implement the final parts, the full project. So Control S, How do I deal with all these functions that will be called, all these other places? First of all, I'm just going to rename them to something that won't compile. Let's just call it a txt file, right? We'll still come back and turn them back to TypeScript files. Don't mind my approach, but it works for me and it could work for you too. But if you're brave enough, you can go ahead and implement all the functions. And I know quite a number of students who are taking that approach and it works, right? So I'll take that out. Create to do. Delete to do. Generate to do. Get to do's. Updates to do's. All right, so I'll be trying to simulate doing a brand. First of all, I think I want to recommend this tutorial to everyone. This for anyone who's still trying to get their hands or get caught their treat in serverless. This tutorial first serverless framework project. You could Google it. So serverless, you're gonna find it. So let me recommend that. So I'm going to kind of simulate something in that project. So I'm just going to implement a simple function just to test the application. So let's see. All right. So I'm going to take a handler. So right here, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to paste this there. Let's go to serverless. Save that. So I'm going to all right. So I'm just going to take this function here, copy it, go to, so basically, what you're seeing the other is a completed project that I'm going to be borrowing from to implement our own projects that I'm starting here from scratch. And be sure that it's not going to, okay, no resources for now. Let's go, we can do that. All right, so the functions. All right, so let's do that. So let me save. So basically, I'm implementing this function to just give us a hello greetings. I'm going to, when I run serverless, it's going to call this handler and give us a hello. That's what we expect. So let me try again to deploy my serverless file. Serverless. Serverless deploy verbose. Let's see how we try to do that. So the first time we run serverless, I think that's second time we run serverless verbose. Okay, so what are we seeing here again? Okay, TS loader or park lib. So let me try something. Let me try and install something else again. Let me try and install the latest TypeScript version. Okay. So I'm trying to install the latest TypeScript dependencies. So I'm pretty much attempting to deploy a bare bones serverless project. Okay, let me do an npm. Uh, Let me try to deploy serverless one more time. All right, so it looks like we're making more progress here. Oh, where am I? Where am I? Okay, all right. Mm, All right. So we have a successful serverless deployment. So how do we check it out? First, let's go to our console and look at our lambdas, lambda section. All right. So let's find, so we deploy serverless to do app 5, dev hello. So that's deployed. Okay, I didn't even check. When was it deployed? Last modified 1 minute ago. So that's a brand new deployment. All right. So that's basically what we have. So let's test that function. Let's test the function from we have an endpoint to test it from. So I'm just gonna take that and try and go, see that endpoint from a browser. Let me try browser I have access to. Okay, I think I can do that from here. Let me slow down a little bit. Okay, you tab browser, and that's it. So we have our project set up. Go serverless v3 function executed successfully. That was what we asked it to do here in this file, just to display go serverless 3.0, your function is successfully. And then we also give ask it to output this input event, which we see here. So normally when I set up my project, I like to set it up. I know that yes, I've deployed to serverless. So I'm now going to build feature by feature, right? I'm going to gradually uncomment all these functions and then implement them. So this is going to be the end of this first part of the video. Is pretty much is set up the project, test the handler, and deploy. So I know that my app is deployed to serverless, and any other thing. And as I'm going to start testing feature by feature, if I see errors, I debug it and I treat it immediately, little by little, and gradually we implement all our handlers, all our functions, and then till we get to the final app. So all these functions I commented out, I'm going to, in the next series of videos, I'm going to implement them. And you're going to see how this my own approach to standing up the, to completing project 4. I think I chose this part so that, we have learners with different experience levels. We have experienced learners who can pretty much jump at it the way with the recommended approach or the suggested approach, implement all their functions, and then deploy their project. And then we'll probably have those who are not, who maybe prefer this approach of doing things step by step to the very end, which is a preferred approach I adopt when I'm building a new project. So this pretty much is the first part of the multi-part walkthrough of project 5. And in this part, we've set up our project. We tested it. We wrote a handler, a hello handler, and then we deployed to serverless. So thank you very much. I hope this first walkthrough is going to be useful to you. Just hang on there. We're going to do the rest and we're going to complete this project. So once again, my name is Ugochukwu Ukwibu. I'm a cloud developer session lead with the ALX Udacity Nanodegree program. So watch out for the next videos. Thank you very much.